Our long-awaited Cyno's gonna be here in basically a week time as the moment I post this video. It has been a while since everyone's been waiting for him, like ever since the first ever trailer of Genshin Impact, we have already known that he is the first character to be from Sumeru, which got many people excited, even me, not gonna lie. His design was pretty good for a character that was designed all the way back then. So now that he's almost here, I want to make a video discussing his potential through the information that we've got right now, as well as Cyno's potential build and how he is played, to help you guys get a better understanding of him and prepare your build properly before he actually arrives in your account if you are pulling for Cyno. Now guys, in collaboration with Primos Bargain, we are doing a 6,480 Primos Gems pack giveaway once Cyno banners drop. So if you're having trouble saving up for him or any of the characters that is going to be coming in patch 3.1, I wish you luck that this will be a better chance for you to obtain your favorite character. If you're new to the channel guys, be sure to subscribe and join my Discord server where I will be holding the giveaway. And with that guys, let's see what Cyno build has in store for us. Now once again guys, many of these information aren't official yet, so there can be changes once Cyno officially arrives. So anything that we're discussing in this videos are just basically our prediction on how he is potentially built and how his power potential is going to be. So just keep that in mind. Now, talking about Cyno's skills and talents as well as his kit, I would say that how he played and designed is pretty simple. He's gonna be a super hyper carry on your account. So those of you who are lacking in hyper carries, he should be an amazing character to fill in the slot. He does have crit damage ascension, which is really good in helping you building him a lot easier. Now his normal attack has okay scaling, but you're never going to be using his normal attack anyway, just like how you're almost never going to be using Xiao's normal attack, because all of his kit relies down into his burst and his E skill. Now his gameplay is purely gonna be an electro DPS, because once he goes into his burst mode, he is electro infused with a burst mode purely scaling. His normal attack during his burst has pretty good scaling, however its charge damage isn't too good, so you can always rely on his normal attack to deal the most of his damage. So therefore any character that helps buff normal attack as well, like Yunjin, would work pretty well on him, but we'll discuss more in terms of character and support usage once we hit the team sections. So on top of electro infusion, during his burst mode, Cyno will also get an 100 EM bonus as well as resistant to interruption, which is pretty good. And the basic duration of his burst is 10 seconds, however the maximum can go all the way up to 18 seconds. The reason comes down to his E skill. Now what his E skill does is that it basically has two forms. Before his burst, he's just going to be doing a normal forward thrust attack that deals electro damage. However, once he goes into his burst mode, his E skill will then turn into basically an AoE electro damage dealing skills, and also whenever you use his E skill, it will extend the duration of his burst for 4 seconds. So if you use it twice, that would hit you a maximum burst of 18 seconds. E skill during burst only has 3 seconds as well, so that's really good. You can basically spam it pretty easily. His passive talent is really good too. On his first passive talent, Cyno will go into an ancient stance at intervals during his burst. Now whenever he activates his E skill during this stance, he will get a 35% damage bonus for his E skills and firing off 3 Duststalker bolts that deals 50% damage of Cyno's attack as electro damage. So to keep it simple, this is an increase in E skill damage for Cyno, which is really good. And on top of that, his passive 2 gives him an attack increase based on his EM. Looking at all this, C0 Cyno is all about hyper carries. There is absolutely no support to the team, plus he has an 18 second of on-field time, therefore he requires a ton of time being a, you know, lone wolf. His gameplay is going to be fairly simple as well. You're just going to be having your support character setting up any support that they are going to do, and then swap to Cyno, go into his burst, and then annihilate everything. So as far as his talent priority goes, I would say you're never going to be needing to touch his normal attack, and the only thing you need is basically crowning his E skills and his burst for maximum damage increase. Now moving on to the next fun section is gonna be the artifact discussion. Artifact usage of Cyno is pretty interesting because because right now I would say he has a 4 best set, which is Thundering Fury, Gilded Dream, Thunder Soother, and Gladiator. Now from theory crafting, to simplify it for all of us, it's basically an equal performance across all of these 4 artifacts. However, Thundering Fury will have a bit of the upper hand due to it helping Cyno spamming his E skill a lot. Because first of all, its E skills only have a 3-second cooldown, so on top of Thundering Fury effect stacking, you're technically looking at a 2-second cooldown for his E skill, plus he's on the field for like 18 seconds. You're gonna be able to spam his E skill whenever it's done its cooldown right away, which increases his DPS a lot. Now since he's going to be spamming his E skill more than often, how his passive talent 1 works, he won't be able to get his passive talent 1 activated on every single one of its E skill. However, an extra E skill even without the passive talent 1 boost is already an overall increase in his DPS. Other than that, the Gilded Dream isn't really far behind. If you've already farmed for the Gilded Dream, is still very good because most of his kit benefit a lot from EM, so the Gilded Dream should work perfectly as well. Now overall, looking at all of these 4 artifact sets, since they performs on basically the same level, therefore any set that you've got better stats, i.e. crit ratio built for Cyno, you should be going with the set, because we're basically going to be running a 4-piece set. Therefore it's usually harder to get good ratio over a 2-piece set combination, so just to keep that in mind. As far as stats go, San is basically gonna be EM. However, if you've got attack percentage, that is fine. Cup will definitely be Electro, and then Circlet will be crit. Okay, onto his weapon. His gacha weapon will always gonna be the number 1 because it's just too good, fits him perfectly. Next, both Staff of Homa and Jade Spear is a decent choice as well. So hopefully you've already got a Jade Spear on your account to put on your Cyno, or if you have a spare to use Homa, that would be a perfect spot too. Now the 4-star option are the interesting discussion here. First in line, the Deathmatch would basically be his overall BIS option because a 36% crit rate increase is just way too good, plus you have the ability to get it all the way up to R5 if you've been buying the battle pass for the past 2 years, increasing his attack to at least a 32% increase or a 48% increase if he's doing solo. Now looking at a free to play option, the Moon Piercer here is basically very good for him because it is a free to play option that you can craft, and the amount of EM it gives is pretty good as well, of 110 EM. Plus at R5 you're also getting kind of like a 32% attack increase if he is able to pick up the leaf drop by weapon passive. So overall this weapon should be a fine choice for free to play. Other than that, we also have the Missive Wind Spear, which is going to be a free weapon given out during 3.1 Monster event. Now of course the information basically isn't official during this point, but we have already got a basic information, which is you're going to be getting a 41% attack increase with an additional 24% attack increase and EM increase by 96 at R5, because you're definitely going to be getting this weapon at R5, which is good also, and the aesthetic looks pretty fitting for him as well, so that's a decent weapon that you can run. That should be basically all the weapon that you want to keep in mind, because Cyno has a lot of good free to play options. And then for Cyno Constellation, if anyone loves him so much that it's going to be investing into his cons, for his Constellation 1, I would say overall it's a pretty decent increase. Now first of all, his normal attack speed will be increased by 20% for 10 seconds after he goes into his burst, which is pretty good. However, we've already got quite a lot of a character that would help you a little bit on attack increase, so if that were to be a stand-alone only, it wouldn't have been too good for a Constellation. However, the next part is what makes his C1 a decent investment, I would say. So correct me if I'm wrong, but what it says is that if his passive talent 1, which is the Judication effect, is triggered during his burst, this effect duration is refreshed, therefore meaning that the next time if you're able to cast his E skill, even if it's right after this, that E skill will still get the Judication effect buff. Or in other words, technically speaking, every single E skills of Cyno now will get the Judication effect buff, which is really good, especially when we're talking about Thundering Fury that reduces his E skill cooldown, helping him spam his E skill a lot more. C2 increases his normal attack, crit rate and crit damage basically for a 15% and a 30% increase. If that's not good, then I don't know what Constellation is, because that is a pretty significant boost. C4 is a little bit of energy recharge for the team, basically the only skill that gives Cyno a little bit of support to your team. So a total of 15 elemental energy during Cyno's burst. For a C6, basically what it does is that it gives him an extra 8 Dust Stalker Bolt, the one that was in his passive talent 1, and whenever he uses normal attack, he will consume one of the stack and then fire off to the opponent. So basically another constellation that gives him an additional damage increase. Now moving to Cyno's team build. On top of the team recommendation that we will be going through, I want to look a bit into some of the most popular character that would be supporting Cyno. In that, first of all, what we want to remember is that his burst requires an 18-second uptime, therefore any supporting character that only gives you little duration buff isn't gonna be too good. So Cyno's usual best support is gonna be, Dendro MC for Dendro reactions. Sucrose running with Thrilling Tales will also be good. Benny and Kazuha for usual damage increase is there also, as well as Kokomi and Kukishinobu for healer, especially Kokomi, who gives him Hydro reaction for either Electro Charge or Hyper Bloom. Now some of the other good support character that you can keep in mind also, and these supports are really good, is first of all, if you have a Jean C2, that will be absolutely perfect, because first of all, she's gonna be a healer on your team with 4-piece Viridescent for resistant shred, plus giving Cyno an extra 15% movement speed and attack speed increase for 15 seconds, which is basically his whole burst duration. If you have a C6 Beidou, that would be very good also for the electro resistant shred that her C6 give. Even if you don't have a C6 and only a C0 Beidou, that would be a decent support for Cyno already. Albedo isn't a bad option either for his off-field damage, as well as 125 EM increase after his burst for 10 seconds, which is really good. Not to mention guys, Yunjin working with Cyno is gonna be insane as well, because the majority of Cyno's damage is gonna be from his normal attack, and Yunjin is there to buff his attack as much as Benny would. Not to mention, if you have Yunjin's constellations, all of her constellations are good, all the way up to C6 is insane, because you're getting an extra 12% attack speed increase. Now the characters that are usually good but won't work as well with Cyno's are, for example, Mona's Omen buff, which only gives you a 5 seconds of attack increase, and Sarah, who only give a 6-second increase. So even if you're having a C6 Sarah, using it with Cyno isn't gonna be too good. So those are support character breakdown. Now in terms of team build for Cyno, we've already known in terms of Dendro reactions, it's definitely gonna be a quickened team. Dendro MC is for sure gonna be on Cyno's Dendro reaction team, and then you can have another character in terms of Electro, for example like Beidou or Fischl. I forgot to mention Fischl above. They would be very good. And at the end, a healer, especially again if you have a Jean C2, that will be very good. Or you can use Sucrose here in this base, and then run Kukishinobu on the Electro slot right above. If we're running Hyper Bloom, then we can have Kokomi on the team. It will be a very good option. Or Xingqiu and Yelan will be perfect as well. And then if you don't want to run Dendro reactions, other old reaction team will do fine as well, like an Overload team. And then if you want to run Electro Charge, you can do that also, but generally I believe you're going to be running a Dendro reaction team anyway. So now with all of these information in mind, would we say Cyno gonna be a worth it character for you to pull? So first of all, obviously you can always just go for the character that you love, because that's how Genshin Impact work. You can do well with basically any character that you like. So if you're someone who've already got your eyesight locked onto Cyno, you're definitely gonna be pulling for him anyway. But in terms of the overall meta, I would say that Cyno is an okay character to have, because he's in quite a fierce competition with other Electro character, especially when it comes to Raiden Shogun, because anything that Cyno can do 2, Raiden Shogun can do just that and even better because Raiden have support capabilities for the team. Now, for example, you can run Cyno in the national team of Bennett, Xingqiu and Xiangling and it works still fine. However, you're taking out Raiden Shogun to place in Cyno. So there you go. This comes down to a lot of player preferences in terms of Cyno play. Not to mention there's also Geshin, who's been heavily buffed after the Dendro reaction arrived. So I would say that Cyno is going to be a very good character who deals very good damage. But if you've already got other Electro DPS build, he wouldn't really add too much value on top of everything that you have already had. Now this again is based on the information that we are currently having, and it's again is a prediction build and analysis of Cyno before he arrived. Our opinion on him might be a lot different once he arrives, so hopefully that he has a lot better to show. And I hope that this video have been enjoyable for you guys. If you have any discussion you want to have on Cyno, be sure to just leave it down in the comment section and I will get to you there. Again guys, if you're new to the channel, be sure to subscribe to not miss out on the giveaway dropping on Cyno's banner so that you have a better chance of pulling for the character that you want. With that guys, I wish you a super day and I will catch you on my next video.